Presiding Officer, to ask the First Minister, in light of SEPA's warning of water scarcity over the summer and the introduction of restrictions on water abstraction last week in some areas, including North Fife, what action the Scottish Government is taking to secure water supply in Scotland in the face of a change in climate conditions?
First Minister.
Officer, it's clear that climate change is driving more extreme weather, and this summer has seen very dry conditions across Scotland, particularly in the east. The Scottish Environment Protection Agency have confirmed today that the number of areas at significant water scarcity has now increased to 10. We are implementing Scotland's National Water Scarcity Plan with SEPA and Scottish Water to support those affected. I recognise the seriousness of the situation, particularly for producers. SEPA are working closely with affected water abstractors, principally the National Farmers Union for Scotland, the Scotch Whisky Association and others, to minimise the impact where possible. Our investment in resilience measures over many years means that Scottish Water is able to maintain supplies during prolonged dry periods to all parts of Scotland. However, supplies are clearly not infinite, and so I would encourage everyone to use water responsibly.
Alec Crowley.
Presiding Officer, over the last week, along with other MSPs in here for the East of Scotland, including yourself, we met online with Scottish Water and heard about the work that they are doing, including trying to get people to reduce water usage, which I support. I've also been in touch with SEPA over these last few months, and I would want to thank the staff in both Scottish Water and SEPA for the work that they have done to try and manage this situation. But moving forward, looking to the medium term and the longer term, does the First Minister agree and recognise that there is a need to review water infrastructure and water resilience? For farmers, this has been a difficult year, with the prediction that food production will be well down this year as a result of the dry spells. The NFU Scotland say building resilience must be a shared priority between growers and regulators and policymakers. So will the First Minister agree to have a look at the medium term and what we need to be doing to put in more water storage to support farmers and others drawing water, and to look at reservoirs and whether we need to increase the capacity across Scotland in the medium and longer term?
First Minister.
Not for the first time, Mr Rowley raises very significant answers and provides an indication of some of where the solutions lie on these questions. So I very much welcome the contents of his question and express the willingness of ministers to engage with him on these points. The situation has been acute. I started receiving a weekly water scarcity warning from SEPA in April of this year. Normally, I would begin to receive those warnings probably about August. So that's an indication practically of the effects of climate change. And Mr Rowley will be familiar with the Government's priority on tackling climate change, because that is part of the solution. What is also part of the solution is the constant improvement to water infrastructure around the country, and a significant upgrade has just been completed in my own constituency in the city of Perth to deal with exactly the issues that Mr Rowley raises. And these developments are going on around the country. Now, they often cause some disruption to members of the public as well, so we have to wrestle with that too. But the last point that Mr Rowley raises is an important issue about water resilience and what more needs to be done to secure that, and that obviously has an effect on capital priorities. But the Government would be happy to engage with Mr Rowley and other interested members on these questions, and it's very much on the agenda of the Minister for Energy and Climate Change.
Rachel Hamilton.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Last week, 6,000 people in Berwickshire were left without water, and that included vulnerable people and farmers with livestock. And whilst I welcome Scottish Water's commitment to a full investigation of this, can the First Minister confirm if Scottish Water will provide full compensation to all affected customers, and can he outline what action is being taken to ensure that the residents of the borders are not left with access to water again?
First Minister.
Well, I understand the inconvenience for members of the public, and occasionally there will be interruptions to water supply. This happens very infrequently where there are issues that affect individual water systems around the country. I know that Scottish Water worked very quickly to restore supplies, and they also provided water to those affected households to ensure that they were able to receive adequate supply over the course of that period. So I understand the inconvenience, but I do recognise that Scottish Water work very hard to make sure that resilience is offered where there is an interruption to supply.
Bill Kidd.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. First Minister, even in a country that's synonymous with rain, the effects of climate change will make it necessary to be prudent about how much water we use, when, why we use it. Can I ask, therefore, what the Scottish Government and its agencies can do to publicise and promote everyday tips to all of us to conserve water and ensure that we are all using Scotland's water sensibly?
First Minister.
President Officer, these are all steps that what Mr Kidd talks about is important, and these are all steps that are part of the Water is Always Worth Saving campaigns that are taken forward by Scottish Water and SEPA, because although we have had a history of an abundance of water supply, what this summer demonstrates is that can be challenged by climate change. One example of extremely good work here, which I've experienced in my own constituency, was in the village of Dunkeld Burnham, where, with a collaboration with Scottish Water, the village was able to reduce its water use in a year by 1 million litres. Now, that's a small village in Perthshire that was able to, by community engagement and awareness and simple things about the use of water, to reduce water consumption. And that, I think, is part of addressing the mix of interventions that are required to address the point that Mr Rowley put to me, which Mr Kidd has reinforced. So I would encourage more awareness of these campaigns, and I'll reflect with ministers on what more needs to be done to increase that awareness.
Willie Rennie.
When I've spoken before about water in the River Eden catchment, I've talked about flooding and the dramatic impact on the people in Cooper. Now it's about the dramatic impact on farmers with broccoli, potatoes and even cereal crops that have been dramatically impacted. I've argued before for a river catchment plan for the River Eden, because we need to get everybody together to deal with these extremes of climate change. Will the First Minister agree to such a catchment plan?
First Minister.
I think it's not just required for the River Eden. I think what the current environment tells us is that we need to have such river management plans in place across the board. And Mr Rennie's absolutely right that that can only happen if everybody is round the table to make it happen. I've seen developments of that in my own constituency which have been successful, but it required every party to be round the table to make that possible. Mr Rennie highlights, as did Mr Rowley, the significant impact on the agricultural harvest this year. Malting barley is not of the strength that we would want to see. Some of the vegetable crops have not flourished to the extent that we would want because of the absence both of rainfall and the ability to abstract water. So I'll take away from First Minister's questions the importance of the river management catchment areas and ask ministers to engage with Mr Rennie and with other interested members on how that could be taken forward at local level in Scotland.
Thank you.